Hello, family. Let's try this out. So this is going to be something very different. This is a live stream, but from the bench. I'm using the Microsoft webcam, and the microphone I'm using is the one that's built into the computer. So we'll see how this goes. So when I first advertised this live stream, I oh hi, there's Echo the Husky. I was actually playing about with the case I was going to use for this project because I'm going to be making something fairly high voltage. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, Echo the Husk. We'll have to see when the sex bots occur. There's Carl, there's Alexa, Matai, Sam, Hazel, Grant Rennie, Sonny Brown, that thing called the Galaxy. Lots of people turning up with unpronounceable names. There's Rice, Mike, Jason, Stephen, Graham, Kevin, Raven Looney's there. Snowman. So how long? And Big Goth K is there as well. So let's see how this goes. The chat. Now, do I have a setting for the chat? Because I'm going to have to check. Just give me a second. Can I change the settings on this to make it slow it down? Because it's going to go loony, isn't it? I'm not sure I can easily do that from here. Anyway, let's just carry on the project. Someone has asked, is it a dark and stormy? Well, it sure is. A very frothy dark and stormy. So as I was saying at the beginning there, I'm going to make something high voltage, so I thought I'll do what I've done in the past. I'll use drain pipe and put it in. And I was going to use these standard drain fitments with the screw-off end caps. And then I thought, I've got a 3D printer. Can't I just 3D print end caps for this with all the holes in them for connectors? So that's exactly what I've done. In fact, from the point I mentioned it on Patreon, I suddenly realized, oh, I've not really got much time. So this is literally just minutes ago that this finished printing. As you'll see, it's in pink plastic. It's going to be used at high voltage. Right. Okay. Yeah, the sticker was a bit rough before. So, right, let's get the soldering iron on. Actually, no, let's not get the soldering iron. Here's what we're going to do. So this is an idea for something that combines with a negative ion generator. So traditionally, a negative ion generator would have the capacitors. There's some videos coming up with negative ion generator stuff, but you have a capacitive multiplier with diodes that zigzag up it like this. And normally with a negative ion generator, they'd point down to the bottom so that it's negative at the top. But in this instance, I'm going to turn that round. I'm going to have all the diodes pointing to the tip of the Walton Cockroft multiplier. Is it Walton Cockroft or Cockroft Walton? Can I ever remember? I used to call it a Cockroft multiplier because it contained the word cock and it was very easy to remember. Will we see any sparks, says Andrew? Possibly, yes, because I don't really know how this is going to go. So here's the plan. I'm going to use about 10 total, so 5 on either side of these capacitors to step the voltage up. And at the very end, I'm going to add a couple of resistors, which I haven't looked out, and they're going to be the main currenting limiting device. The highest ones I've got are about 1 Megohm, I think. I should really be using 10 Megohm, but I'm going for the higher voltage ones. Christian says, am I shadow banned? I don't think you're shadow banned, Christian. You're still popping up here. Medieval folk dance is their bottom line marine. Okay. Cockroft Walton says, echo the husky. Okay, so I'm just going to go and grab those resistors now because I've not planned this very well. The resistors, these are the bits that stop me getting a tingle. Now, I had a choice in camera here. I could have used Martin. It's not a negative ion generator. It's positive, but it's not a positive ion generator. It's going to be a dust mat to collect static. So here's the plan. I've got my capacitors here. I've used the ones I have, which are, they're X2, which are rated about 275 volts AC, I think. 310 volts AC, which gives them a good rating, a DC rating about 630 volts. What I'm going to do is I've decided to space them. I'm actually going to stick them onto the side of this plastic raised this channel that I've printed off for this. And it made me realize that if this works, you could theoretically print one of these channels and use it to make a negative ion generator by having the capacitors on either side of it as a core. That could be very interesting. That's maybe a project of the future. I think I was saying there, I had a choice. I could have used the live cam, which is a fixed focus, probably slightly out of focus, or I could have used my normal recording device, which would have been the normal picture. But because of the way YouTube records, it keeps focusing up it doesn't control, there's no way to stop the focus. So it was just focusing all the time, and that gets very annoying. So let's start this project. I'm going to get the soldering on in the background. I'm going to get double-sided tape, and I'm going to cut some strips of double-sided tape. Was that Bullduck? Farley Hill using the first particle accelerator. What was that? A positive ion collection. Oh, the Walton Cockroft multiplier, probably. So let's cut a couple of strips of double-sided tape. And I should put one on this side of the pink plastic thing. Pink plastic, of course, because pink is the color of the channel. Because there's nothing quite like something pink and made of plastic going bang. So let's crop that off with the snips. I'm making this up, by the way, as I go completely. I've never tried this before. I don't even know if there's any way I'll work out a way to test it after I've done it. We'll just play this by ear. We'll just make it up as we go on. I may look at getting a new webcam because this one is also a bit washed out looking. That's partly because it's very hard to get a decent automatic white balance on a MDF background. So what I'm wanting here, I'm wanting to trim this down. Yeah, let's make a high voltage device that is entirely stuck together with sticky tape and then stuffed into plumbing pipe. Excellent, that sounds like a great idea. So I got the news today that, well, at this point in time, the Royal Ember Military 2 is not running, which is not so great. I'll miss the company at that point of the year from the guys that I work with because they're a good bunch to work with. And it was also my main job of the year, my biggest job of the year. That's a bit annoying. That happens. It's the safest thing to do at this point in time. So now I've got the double-sided tape on. Let's start sticking the capacitors on. So I'll leave the channel pointing up the way for extra insulation. I'll leave these pointing out the way. So I'm going to go with that one there. Wow, this is like Blue Peter, but really dangerous. For those who don't know, Blue Peter was a kids program, which involved projects being done with usually involving sticky tape. Now, have I measured this correctly? I think I have measured it correctly because now that I've stuck all those on, I mean, this is going together pretty well. High voltage device covered in sticky tapes is at killer. I'm reminded of Wile E. Coyote and the glued-on stick of dynamite. This may also sound like dynamite when I plug it in. Now I'm going to have to, I've stuck one on it accidentally. I'm going to have to line this up so it's roughly in the middle of that one, which, to be honest, is coming in nicely because this is exactly 100 millimeter long, this little plastic custom component. This is all fresh and experimental. It's already gone slightly wrong because the end cap with the cable gland in it that I was going to use to mount the circuitry to put on the end of this, I made it a slightly looser fit deliberately so it wouldn't really be too tight. And then because it's loose, I thought, how am I going to stick this on? And just experimentally, I put some tape around it. I put 2 wraps of tape and then forced it on. This will not come off again. I will not do that at the other end. Although having said that, it's most commendable that it doesn't want to come off, particularly when there's high voltage inside. Look at this. This is going so well so far. That usually precedes something going horribly wrong. I have one end, so those are X2 capacitors rated for 310 volts. So they're going to be roughly, they're actually in the mains, they're going to be charged up to about 630 volts-ish, I think. And these are the diodes. Now, initially, let's see which way am I going to do this. initially the diode stage, you can't just the diode zigzag up and down. Let's go over here. One thing to really watch out for, because I did it when I was younger, it was really loud, is not to completely lose track and actually put a diode here as well, because the diode then would be crossed live and neutral, and that's loud. That's very loud. And leaves your circuit board in tatters. So I'm going to zigzag these diodes across like this. I would zoom down. That's something. Oh no, I couldn't zoom down with even with the phone. It's just a bit restrictive because we're live streaming. We have restrictions on what we can do. So I'm going to lay these diodes with all the ends pointing to the other end. To be honest, at this point in time, it could almost go either way around, give or take that rogue diode at the bottom, because otherwise. Yeah, well, if I could put it either way around, make it into a negative ion generator. But this one, it's not. I'm not going for the same voltage as an ion generator. My apologies when the sex bots appear. They will appear. It's just a foregone conclusion. The sex bots will appear in the comments section. I shall try and do something about it when they appear, but we'll see what happens. So let's zigzag that diode to there. Let's get the solder. Getting the solder, not putting my laptop on top of the solder would have been a really good idea. Right. Let's solder things. How does the image actually look? Is it all right? The caps are not polarized. D15H. What are the sex bots? Mr. Alex, you'll find out later on, because your comment may be chosen by the sex bots. So I'm going to actually maybe bend these leads across to trap the diodes in here, because it might make it a bit harder. See, this is the problem with doing live stuff is, oh no, things can go so wrong. Maybe I should just do a few diodes at a time. Maybe I should use decent tape. But once the solder's in place, it'll be fine. Maybe I'll just flood things with solder. Let's try this again. Make sure all the diodes are around the right way. Right, let's just try flooding things with solder, but I really am going to have to flood things with solder here, because otherwise it's quite easy to get a bad connection when you're constructing stuff in this style. And it's quite easy for the diodes to move while you're soldering them, while you're constructing stuff in this style. This was maybe the wrong type of project to do for a live stream, but not to worry. I have no regrets. I never do. Okay, let's keep soldering. Let's keep soldering on. What are you guys saying? So yeah, the sex bots, they'll basically take your comment and then they'll put a picture of some young lady with her knockers out, and then it'll say, click here for sexy fun, and then put your comment after it, just random comments, just to make it look like valid topical comments and the thing. It's not very good. I mean, it's quite clever what they do, but it's a bit annoying. The first time I made a version of this, it didn't go to plan, because these are quite big solder joints. You're relying on bridging, and I can see it happening here. You're relying on bridging several components, and I can see that one is not, the solder's not flowed on. I'm going to add a touch of flux to those later on and then reflow them, because the bottom lead is just floating. See that? That diode is moving. That's annoying, but that's something I kind of expected, so I'm wise for it. I have a flux pen at the ready. I also have flux for me at the ready. I'm just going to have some flux right now. I shall put the tape out the way. We don't need the tape anymore. I shall put that over there. Let's solder this one. This is where I should maybe have pinched these a bit closer together, but not to worry. We'll see what happens. As I say, I'll probably reflow them once everything's kind of roughly locked in place. It keeps everything more or less where I can reflow them without too much mess. That will definitely need reflowed. Let's crop this down, skip that lead over to the other side, and solder that one. So far, so good. At least that's what I'm saying. It might not be. But it looks as though it's going together okay so far. What kind of flux do you have for you? This is just generic. This pen came with flux in it. Jim Watt says, hi, so what we're making a voltage multiplier, but for just not quite a full ionization voltage. It's a positive ionizer for creating a dust collection mat that you can plug anywhere in the room. And hopefully, if there's a negative ion generator in the room, it will make it biased towards that sort of area. I will be testing this thoroughly with a meter afterwards. I'll be measuring voltages. The voltages will be high. They will be in excess of 1,000 volts. So that's gone up there. I need one more diode up there. And that will theoretically be the multiplier more or less complete, but I'm going to reflow those connections. So this is going to be a bit awkward. Loose components. This is one of the worst things about dead bugging components, making them just with spindly legs everywhere. If the sex bots do appear, just ignore them. Although the last live stream on BigCliveLive, the other channel dedicated for live streams, it did get a bit sex botish at the end. It got a bit annoying. I'm going to crop these leads down now, and then I'm going to reflow the solder. Ow. And we'll see how that works. I'm not too worried about sharp points as I would with that actual ionizer circuit, because this isn't going up to that voltage level. It's probably just attached to a rubbing alcohol spray wash. Okay. How the flux pen smells, to be honest, there's no real major smell. I'll sniff it this time. I've never really thought about sniffing the flux pen. Do you mean before or after I've fluxed? Oh, right. Gloom and Doom 666 says he's got COVID. The crew chief, Vince, the crew chief, called me today. He has currently got the COVID virus and was just letting me know that that job was off. So it's not great for him either, not just in terms of having the virus, but work-wise. It's really affecting the entertainment industry. If you put the positive and negative ion generator close together, you just get a sort of flow of electrons between them. Rightio, this is the output. I have to remember that's the output. If I don't, it's the bit that will go bang. Right, let's reflow these and flux them up. I shall also crop that lead down to something more manageable. There we go. Do I regret doing that? Not really, actually. No, that's fine. So let's get flux all over these. So this is one of these flux pens. It's like a sort of Sharpie or marker pen that when you press down it, the flux flows out. So I'm going to reflow these joints. I'm definitely going to need to flow that one because it's not made a connection at all. And yeah, I can see the one down there has not made a connection. It is the peril when you've got these connections, all these contacts spaced so far apart. The flux smells slightly acidic, nothing really major, nothing exciting. Let's reflow this and put a blob in it. You can hear it sizzling. I can still hear it sizzling. I'm not sure if this is damaging the capacitors by soldering them this way, but this is how many ionizers are made these days now. Well, I say these days, modern ionizers tend to be based on little tiny circuits involving a tiny transformer being pulsed, and then just one high voltage diode, and a tiny capacitor, like literally picofarad, connected to the output. The separation resistors, in the same way that I'm using two 1 megohm resistors in the output here, I'm just using so much solder here. It looks so messy and amateur. Well, how accurate. Yeah, these capacitors are probably not going to be happy about what I'm doing here. Is that more or less it? I think it is. Let's get the meter in and test these. Blow 5G up with it. So what is the upper frequency of 5G? 5G goes from something really low to in the region of about, is it 30 gigahertz? But now they're looking at possibly going up to 300 gigahertz. Do the fumes make you feel a happy chappy? No. But this does. Did you try vaping flux? I'm not sure if vaping flux would be a good thing. I'm just going to do a quick continuity test between the diodes here. Oh, that's yeah, that's not a ideal way to test that. Yeah, these aren't well lined up, are they? That looks all right. These probes sometimes don't make a connection very well. Maybe I should get decent probes. Well, that looks pretty good. Hopes it's very unsafe, says Cassie. It is indeed. Here is my cable, and I'm going to stuff this up the end like this. Oh, actually, no, let's find out what sort of length this is in here. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. That's all right. That will do. And I shall cut these leads. I'll use something better for this. Let's use an actual stripper. Let's be professional. Let's bring in the iWis stripper and choose a random core size and just basically, yeah, like that, something like that. What do I need here? I need that one to be up there. I need this to be shorter. So let's crop this down to there. Have you done an insulation resistance test on it? I've not. On the connector itself, I've not done that, but I have checked that the fuse is in the circuit and that it's the correct type of fuse. These things are important. And it's a decent flex. It's real copper. So let's flow some solder onto here. Get gold probes like Dave. Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. If no, I was thinking microcurrent gold is product, but it's kind of different. I don't think it does really require gold leads as such, but the gold would definitely be a huge thing because I think there's an interaction between some metals. You're measuring a very low resistance that can induce a slight voltage in the probes to the different metals. Watch down your different 30 kV was pretty normal work in the CR. Yeah, 30 kV was pretty common on cathode ray tubes. Spicy. And with basically a big fat capacitor, a glass capacitor at that. The tube itself. Okay, now that's the mains connected to that. Let's get my resistors. So these are 1 megohm. I'm not sure what the end voltage is going to be. It will depend on many factors. So let's put these. Another thing I should have got is sleeving. But I shall solder these on and then I shall sleeve them. So let's get this one with a decent bit of space. I'm using 2 resistors in series as a safety feature. And I'm using decent size resistors. They're never ever going to dissipate that amount of power, but it's just safer to do so. Not like the little Chinese that I'm currently in the process of depotting, the little Chinese ionizer module, which uses 1/8 watt resistor, 20 megohm. And I think that's more or less all that's between you and the mains. It's not a good idea. I'm not sure I'd recommend building along with me for this project because unless you're building other projects, because this one is a bit spicy and specialist. Okay. So there's the current limiting on the output. Now, end cap. I'm going to put some sleeving over that too. Here is the connector I've chosen output as a standard banana connector. Do you have asbestos fingers? Clive says, pineapple man. No, except, over time, I guess I just maybe got sort of used to temperature, but they don't get terribly hot. Is this bullshit for April Fools? Says Rob C. No, it's a real thing. What is the high voltage I've ever dealt with? It's very hard to say because it's usually at very low current. Let's tighten this up. Right. So if that's going in here, I shall put a cable tie around this as an extra strain relief. I like your accent. Do you do it on purpose for the videos? Says Tyler. I don't. This is my actual accent. Do I like fixing stuff? Yes, I do. The slight downside, there's always that fear that I'm not going to be able to fix something. Let's slip this in. Okay, that's it bottoming out there. That's it going to be there. So, right. And that's going to be pretty, that's going to miles down. Oh, that's a bit of a nuisance. Maybe I should have used a longer pipe, but it's a bit late now. Right, we're going to put a bit of sleeve around this. So just give me a moment. I'm just going to grab a bit of heat shrink sleeving. I'm not going to fill it with oil. Hot dogger 230 volt. Well, the hot dogger's on standby there. It's still awaiting action. I've not cooked hot dogs in it for a while. This isn't to say I'm not having hot dogs, so I'm going to actually bend this over like this so that this can actually hook up to that. So I'm relying on this insulation as being fairly spicy. Let's crop this down. Just trying to think. I'm just thinking before I do something absolutely apocalyptic. At this point, it's not a vibrator. It could be used as a vibrator, but a bit of an unpleasant experience with several thousand volts at the end of it. But you could definitely use it as a vibrator by sticking a motor in it. I suppose you could make a vibrator out of drain pipe. I'm not sure it'd be very popular with the ladies or whoever actually used it. It could be the industrial plumbing version. Maybe that's what plumbers use. So that's more or less what it's going to look like. That was a fairly quick project, but you know what? I've not tested it yet. Let's measure the voltage across some of the stages and see what we're getting. This is where my meter is only rated up to 1,000 volts. And I can't use a probe on it, the high voltage probe, because the impedance of the circuit, it passes very little current. Of course. Do you calculate resistors for every use or do you use randoms? No, this is specifically chosen. This is a combination. Typically, they'd have used 10 megohm resistors instead of 1 megohm. But I'm choosing it for the actual physical size because the bigger resistors have a higher voltage rating. And even then, it's still not rated for the voltage across this circuit. Right, I'm going to plug this in. I shall plug it in to the mains. Double check all the diodes around the right way before I do this, because once it's charged and it gets very spicy. It's plugged in. let's bring in a meter, set it to DC volts, 1000 DC volts, and measure the voltage across. This is going to be yo-yoing up and down. Not sure how this is going to work. How is this going to work? I'm going to measure the voltage across because it's going to be referenced to ground. I have to be careful here. No, there's no bang. It's let's probe. Is this going to work? Let's probe between here and here. 600 volts, which is, yep, 600 volts. I would guess I'm going to get about 600 volts across over there as well. Yep. What about the next stage along, which is actually I'm going to have to be careful about leads because that is actually going to be a much higher voltage than the meter is designed to operate to ground. Let's bring it in. It's dropping. It's not bad, 600 volts. So let's work this out. 600 volts. Volts. How's this going to add up? Is it just going to be 600 volts each time? I think it is 600 volts per pair. Let's be very cautious about going here. This is not going to be a good idea. 300 volts. That might be because of the impedance. No, it's actually 600. And then this is way above the voltage rate in the meter for being with reference to the ground and the probes. Yeah, trying to actually probe this, it's a terrible idea. It's a bad idea. Yeah, and it's not easy to probe either. I'm being super cautious of the probes because they are, yeah, it's about 600 volts again. That's a good few thousand volts up at the top there. I've just used that meter well out with its rating, and here's the worst thing, like this thing is still going to carry a charge. Am I going to be able to get a bit of a spark from here? There was a slight hiss, but not much because those resistors limited the current. Excellent. Right, let's see if it puts a charge onto a surface. Although it is designed not as an ionizer, it's designed as a, let's shape these a little bit. It is designed as a, just for a relatively low charge. Did someone just calculate stuff there? 2.4 kV? That's probably about right. Let's put a single lick of tape around this so this holds together, and then I'll stick a probe into it. So this is now a current limited high voltage output. Let's put a wrap of tape, but I shall overlap it in the top so it's not going to stick down below the where it covers with the 3D printed object, 3D printed cap. Let's put a single turn on. And I'll fold that in. Is that going to friction fit to a degree? Yes, it is. There we go. Ah, right. Let's see what we can do now. How am I going to test this? Let's get the soldering iron off. Did you cut your beard? Says Zach. No, I did not cut my beard. And when I push this button, all the dust in the world will be mine. Yes, indeed. I expect bang, no bang. Chicken, in relatively speaking, yes. Don't want to be around 10 kV to start moving ions. Don't you want to be around? No. I don't think it goes that high. Most commercial ionizers are about 11 stages times 2 capacitors, so about 22 capacitors. It's all down to the sharpness of the needles. So now I need a meter, and I need a discharge mat. What am I going to use? What am I going to use here? This can be my ion mat, and I'll just pull a lead out my meter, my bench power supply, and hook it onto this. Can I show you the beard? There's the beard. The beard doesn't often get seen in this channel. So I'm going to plug that onto there. And I'm going to plug this into here. And then I'm going to get a very simple cheapo meter. And I'm going to make an ion detector by clamping one lead of the meter, the negative lead of the meter. So turn this to about, what have I done this before in the past? I'll turn it down to about 2 volt setting. I shall clamp this onto something that's grounded. I'm trying to think, what can I do here? I could clamp it onto the solder iron, but it's still red hot. Is this going to melt my probe? Maybe. Let's get that onto there. So I'll earth it through the solder iron and use this mat here. So it's currently showing a negative charge on the bench. I'm not even sure the best way to hold this because I can really do the loop so I don't actually hold the metal plate. How effective is CRT as a dust collector? They certainly do collect a lot of dust in the front, but I think that's just electrostatic. The meter is just a shitty meter, but it works quite fine. What is a positive ion dust collector thing? It is basically, it's for use with a negative ion generator that charges the static in the air. And this is a remote mat that can then pick that static, that hopefully collect that dust. So here is my improvised finger grip for this. Okay, that's very classy. So this thing is currently reading. Let's see if I can ground this. Let's try and ground this and get it down to 0. Yeah, I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. Let's energize this and charge that plate up and see if this meter here goes from a negative to a positive. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it's detecting that charge. That's working. It's not, I don't really want it to put too much of charge out on the bench, but it will be putting a charge onto the bench. It's putting about a volt, positive 780 millivolts onto the bench. Excellent. What can I do here to check this out, to do things? Let's ground it with the solder iron. It should make a sort of fizzing noise. Did you hear it? Oh shit. It's making the screen of the computer twitch. It is. It's making the screen of the fucking laptop twitch. That's not great. Oh, I said the F word. That's yet another live stream demonetized. Yeah, when I was doing that, the LCD screen was actually shifting to the side on the laptop. That is weird. What caused that? Okay, so this is me got a charged plate. I'm touching the 2 pins here to it. It's the neutral is the one that really matters here because it's effectively connected at the other end of the multiplier. Yeah, I made it, I don't know, definitely a spark gap radio of sorts. That was creating, it would have been transmitting a signal. Well, that worked. Well, for a live stream, that's it. So let's continue. Let's that's the dust mat made. Theoretically, you can put this in a room, you can clip this onto it, or you could plug a little array into it, just a little panel, and it would just be a little square plate in the top of this, and it will then theoretically attract that dirt. Well, that's it. You know, that it's not, that was almost an anticlimax. How long did that take to actually do that? Hold on. It took 40 minutes. That's not bad. Can I buy a VAG Power Light Kit? Says China North Air Guns. I may do them just as a limited edition from the channel. I'm not really sure yet. I need to find the potentiometers. I got loads of potentiometers for it, and I've got plenty of LEDs. You could use this to actually protect your toilet paper. What I did a while back, when my parents initially moved back to the Isle of Man, their cat was staying with my gran, and we reckon it got knocked down while trying to find its way back to the old house. And I was nursing it in Glasgow at the flat for a while. And I grew a catnip plant, and the cat was just basically it was eating the catnip. As soon as the shoots came up, it would just attack it because cats love the catnip. And I got a negative ion generator, just a low power one, and stuck it in. So that when the cat's nose went up, that hiss you heard there, that's what it got. We got a wee zap onto its nose, and it stopped it doing that. And it really made the plant grow really big. I don't know if it was ionization or just other than that. But the cat finally did died in the end, but at a ripe old age. It was well old when it went. But it meant that it would sit longingly in front of that big, huge catnip plant at the window, and then I'd go up and because I could touch it, I'd flick the thing and take some leaves off and give it to it. Uh, Vape test. I'm not sure what's happened if I vaped in that. I am not sure what would happen if I vaped in that. It's a very interesting idea. Let me just put some vape down. That's rubbish. Let me go and get a proper vaping device. I've not used this in a while. I can't really see anything happen, but there is effectively no charge in it. What would happen if... do I have a negative ion generator handy? Do I have a negative ion generator? Yes, I do. Just give me a sec. I'm going to get a negative ion generator and we'll try and put a charge on the vape. That's just going to end really badly, isn't it? One manky negative ion generator. Oh, it's very grubby. With a improvised carbon fiber brush, you know that underfloor heating wire you get, which is carbon fiber core. If you cut a little bit off and strip it, and then just stuff it over a needle, it makes perfect ionizer needles. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to have to plug this in elsewhere. This is me covering my bench with high voltage sources next to electronic equipment. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. All I can really think to charge myself up here is to actually grab hold of the output of the ionizer and charge myself up to high voltage by gripping the connections. So I'm going to do that now. So, right, that's me charging myself up to high voltage. I'll wait for a while to build a charge up in my body, and then I'll vape onto that. Is anything visibly happening? Nothing really. There's vape lingering around the panel, but I'm not really sure what's happening. What if I point this? Oh, that created quite a strong turbulence in the vicinity. I'll have to be careful about the fact I've got a lead here that is not rated for the voltages that I am playing about with here. This seems like a great idea for a live stream, doesn't it? So let's blow it. So that's negative to positive. Can you see that effect? When it hits, it goes in front of the negative one. It is throwing sort of waves, but is it attracting onto the positive plate? Hard to say. Tell you what, I've thought of another experiment to do. I'm just going to unplug this plate while I'm doing this. I shall burn something. Give me a moment. I'm just going to discharge this plate so I don't get a zing off it. Let's take the ionizer, which is charged at the moment, and stick some pepper on it, like this. Experiments other people have not tried because they're too wise to try them. Okay, I'm gonna end up getting bitten here, haven't I? Let's try and turn this round so the lead stays roughly out of the way. Ugh. I've not had a shock yet. This is actually quite impressive. Right, so let's start burning this. Okay, there's our source of smoke. Not a huge amount of smoke. I did see a direction change. I can see a pattern appearing on that. I'll keep running it for a while. So that paper is producing smoke now. Let's read the comments. Flames, yes. Bitten by angry pixies. Fire as well, absolutely. Not the smoke fire I wanted, I know. Sorry, Andrew. It's just like, ionic wind will blow the flame, says Maddie. Yes, in a way. I can see a pattern. I don't know if you can see that because of the lighting. But the thing is covered. Hold on. This is not burning as well as I want it to. Hold on. Let's find. I've got another bit that's better. This bit is not smouldering properly. Yay. This is a paper that's been treated with potassium nitrate and a little bit of sugar. It's not very good. I'm going to get another bit and see if I can get more smoke. I shall force this over the end of this, noting that all this is live at the moment. Shocktastic. Things you don't normally do with ionizers. Vape oil onto it. Well, the snag is that would mean vaping oil. I can't think of anything I've got that would immediately vape. Put out an oil vapor. This paper is not burning as aggressively as I'd want. And the lighter is now playing up. Is that showing any visual effect at all? I can see the smoke wafting around, but it's... Oh, is that smoke visibly when it's actually going the right direction? Is it being attracted over to the... It's being channeled up, unfortunately, by the fact that the papers, because I've folded that, it's not putting it, it's not sort of burning the front, it's burning inside at the moment. We'll see how it goes once it's settled down a bit. Maybe I could use my high voltage plath to pick this up and see if it affects the smoke. The smoke is actually going towards it. The smoke at this thing is covered in dust now. It is having an effect that it's actually pulling the smoke towards it, but it's not really majorly doing so. I wonder how that's going with the charge. I'll show you that once this is all sort of burnt out. I wouldn't say it's not whooshing across in an enthusiastic manner, but there is a definite... It's done something because I'll show you in a moment once I've unplugged this and discharged it. You can actually see it. So if I unplug this now and I short it out so it's discharged. Can you see the copper is now covered? So it is doing something. Okay. So what next? Let's chat. Remove the resistors? No. The resistors are there for safety, so I don't get a zing off this. It's to limit the current, but to be honest, that although there was a 2 Megohm resistors, that the voltage involved, it's still putting out plenty of charge. The other option I could do, what if I was to put a smoke cone on this at the risk of wrecking this piece of I'll put it at the edge. That's the best bit. I'll clean this off as well. I'll get a brush. I'll get a brush now. Yeah, if the ionizer was a bit messy before, it's looking very ugly now. It looks like some industrialized piece of like futuristic stuff. Tell you what, I shall put the emitter back in this because I'm about to put a smoke cone or a joystick on that. I'm just going to go and grab one. I shall use this pink one. And I put it on at the edge of the thing because it's going to wreck the printed circuit board material if I let it burn down too low. Maybe I'll just put it out before it gets there. Let's see if I can get this to light in the first place. I'm not sure that this being coppery coloured is really helping here. I'm not sure that this lighter being crap is helping here. Hold on. MD tuning now. I wonder what the heck is going on with all this burn marks. Right, that is a... Okay. I'm not sure that's lit. Oh, it is lit. It's one of these ones that the smoke sort of flows out the base of the cone, so I'll put it on sideways. I just saw, did you see a bit of paper ping onto that there? Is there any interaction between the negative ion and the smoke? I think it's being blown away by the negative ion generator. I'm not really sure. Very vague. I'm not sure that the glow-in-the-dark powder in the air, Simon, would really have much of an effect. I could try sprinkling powder onto it. Oh, if we put some candles on it. Hold on, I'm going to go and get a tea light. We'll see what happens. I shall light this. I shall place it on like that. Oh, yes, Clive's going to cop it. Okay, so now we've got flames there. What's going to happen when I bring the ionizer over to it? There's some slight movement. The bits of paper here are obviously being charged positive because they're sticking to the ionizer. And then when I put it over there, they immediately drop back off again. There's definitely something happening when I go near that thing with the smoke. Oh, that's the most interesting thing. There's some movement of the flame, but the ionizer is definitely stirring the smoke up quite a bit. Yeah, hard to say. Spanky Bear, the bear is in the room, indeed. Ion wind, indeed, Dr. Zarkov. What happens if the ionizer gets too close? They both have limiting resistors. So it'll just limit the current. But you can see an effect actually with the smoke when I do that. It is having an effect. Hopefully not just my voice doing it. What would have been good there, and I've not got anything I can think of to do that with, would have been a black surface. Hold on, I've got something. A black anti-static sheet. Now I'm going to have to be careful with that thing because I'll unplug this at the moment. That's probably the best bet. It's probably a good idea. I shall get the smoke cone, a tray for that. I shall move the candle off at the moment. And I shall place this conductive. Let's not get it too near electronic stuff. I might just put a. Is this going to be super reflective? It's not going to be too bad. Let's try not to set myself on fire in the process. Let's put that over there. Lift this up. Place this there. Put that there. So that's currently off. When I turn it on, oh, there's definitely an effect there. And off again. And on. Yeah, there's definitely some sort of turbulence happening. That's interesting. Yeah, you're right. Have another drink, indeed. And remember that this mat underneath my drink is live at a considerable positive voltage with relative to the ground. Oh, Kvatch, I've just built something that is charging this black surface at several thousand volts positive with respect to ground, and this at the side is a negative ion generator. And there's a candle here. I'm not sure if anything's happened to the candle. Let me unplug the power supply again and short it out. Oh, did you hear the crack? So yeah, the smoke's just going straight up. Plug it in, it just starts spraying everywhere. Yeah, interesting. I hope that's not charging, carrying a charge onto the Chromebook via the camera. I'd find out when it did. Can you direct the ions with a tube? Not really sure. Tell you what I could do. Maybe I could put a bit of rod into the end of this. I'm trying to think what I could use for that. Hold on, is this going to work? Should just discharge this. Can I just put a metal rod into this instead? How long before I get a zing? It's inevitable it's going to happen at some point. Do I have a bit of copper wire? Yes, I do have a bit of copper wire. A bit of copper wire. This seems like a great idea. Let's stuff copper wire down the end of a several thousand volt terminal. I'm quite surprised that the voltage maintained quite well with the meter up the. But then I did use 100 nanofarad capacitors. Okay, I've now got a magic wand here. Well, there's definitely an effect happening there. What about the flame? It's repelling the flame. What if I touch that? Not hearing much when I touch that. A neon tube would be interesting. I wonder if I could make a. Do I have anything nearby that would glow? I can't really think of anything I've got nearby that would glow. That's surprising for me in a room like this. The the plasma tube wouldn't work. Just going to have a wee go at that again. Is that really having much of an effect? I'm not sure unless I have just raised the whole potential of that to a high positive potential. I'm not getting as much noise as I thought I would get off that. It is definitely attracting. It's the smoke is being pulled towards and it's forming a vortex around it. Yeah, interesting. Can hear a slight fuzz when I put this up to the plug, when I unplug it. Right, anyway, the smoke cone is now melting through the plastic. One moment, please. Before the plastic gets completely turned into a puddle of goo. Oh, is that plugged in? No, it's not plugged in. Let's put the smoke cone on top of that ionizer. Unplug this in again to see what happens. It's definitely a bit of activity when it comes near this rod. It's swirling around it, almost like a little motor. Interesting. You can't really see that because of the reflection, the contrast. Should put the candle out. So let's just go down to Photonic's fine as far as I know. He's just not really making much in his video. Who's been smoking pink cigars? No. Yeah. So I'm just looking at the gold leaf electroscope. That came to mind, Cassie, for measuring the voltage of this, but I don't actually have a gold leaf electroscope. Can't really test that. But there we go. I can't really think of much else that's going to be a very short live stream. It's reached an hour, but ultimately, I think we've done all the experiments we can really do with this now. I'm wondering what else I could actually test with that. The only thing I can really do is ultimately use this in the house, connect it to a mat, and then just see, put a couple of bits of paper, one connected to this on the mat and one on its own, and just see if one actually gets more dust in it or not. Someone was saying about the heavy duty batteries, the dangers of how Samsung have also jumped on the bandwagon that LG did of saying, nobody should use the 18650 cells because they're dangerous. I suppose it's not really aimed at people like us. It's aimed at people who are in the sort of just ordinary people, really. People who don't understand that an 18650 cell, when short-circuited, can actually put out not just a lot of current, but then can go into an avalanche failure mode and fail quite forcibly. This is creating lots of smoke, this thing. Change to normal live stream. I can't really change to normal live stream because all the face videos go on BigCliveLive. If you like the videos, it's that. I'll just go down here. All the face ones go on BigCliveLive channel because it's just to sort of keep. Some people don't like seeing the face, quite frankly. That's fundamentally it. But there we go. That's that experiment done. I can't really think of anything else to say here. That's more or less it. I mean, it is because it's on the bench, there's not much else I can do. I could maybe take something to bits. I could show you what I've been looking at recently. Let me unplug the ionizer here. And take this out the way. I'll just discharge this. So I'll put this out the way at the moment. I've been trying a technique for depotting encapsulated stuff. So this is a tub, a Nutella type tub, but not actually Nutella. And it's got some acetone in it. And it turns out that if you put the resin encapsulated items in acetone, it takes a bit of patience. It takes days, and you have to keep taking it off in layers. But you can progressively just pick layers of the acetone away. I'm just going to stick my high voltage probe out the way here after discharging it. it is made. That's the main thing. It can now be tested. That was the purpose of the live stream. Let's put that out of the way and get some of these ashes out of the way. I shall put them onto this little plate here, which is very hot. Those incense things do make a terrible smell. Kobe, your messages can't be seen at the moment. You're on timeout. I just thought I'd mention that. Okay, so this is actually an ionizer, and it's tiny. The module, I could show you one of the full things. That's the best bet. Let's do a mini teardown on the channel here. So I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the messages. Spammers in chat. Okay, yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll spend more time looking at the chat at the moment. I'm just going to go and get something. Make sure I drink the dark and stormy and not what's in here, which is acetone. So dark and stormy, yes. Acetone, no. This is a Chinese ionizer lamp. You may notice it's got Chinese text on it. And when I take this out, you'll see it's got the little carbon fiber brush sticking out the end of the lamp. If I pop the lid on this, you'll see the inside is a fairly standard little circuit board. Let's pull this out, this little iron brush. And if I lift this out, it's a standard capacitive dropper board, but it's also got this little module underneath it. And if I cut that module out, where are my snips? Then I can liberate the whole module and pull it out. And this little potted module contains the full ionizer circuitry, but they've absolutely stripped it to the minimum. The wick is an ionizer. It emits the carbon fiber tip, actually emits electrons into the air. It's to freshen the air in the room and whatever ionizers are purported to do, cleaning the room, basically. Let me just get this. So this is one of these, an actual one of these that I've depotted. Let's shake the acetone off it. And it's got, I can't zoom down this unfortunately, but it's got this tiny little transformer with multiple section windings. It's quite a nice little transformer. And it's got this circuitry to support it, but a very sort of minimum amount of circuitry. The output, for instance, of the transformer, I think I'll be able to get another layer off this, but I'm not going to be able to depot it completely at the moment because it takes days to take millimeters off. So it's going to take a wee while. But there's a couple of diodes here. There's a couple of, I say diodes, one of them might actually be a SIDAC, which is a threshold diode like a diac. But the idea is that there's a little capacitor here, a little metal film capacitor, that then it gets charged up and then it suddenly gets discharged through a primary winding in this transformer. It generates a high voltage spike. And there's a diode in the output that then goes to a ceramic capacitor with a very low value. And that then sort of takes on that slight high voltage charge. And then there's this miserable 2 Megohm resistor, this 8th watt resistor is what's between. That's the safety device in there. And I'm not convinced that is really a good safe device between you and the mains on something you can actually touch, particularly when you see these little ionizers being sold as a, like you get the ones that these are actually sticking out the front of the unit. You don't wipe the dust off the lamp. It charges the dust in the air and it will stick to the ceiling and floor and the walls. It'll clear it out that way. Yeah, but that's fundamentally it. as this material gradually dissolves off, and it's dissolved the shell of the acetone has dissolved the shell of the capacitor as well. But as it all dissolves off, it's revealing all the secrets inside that circuit board, including the sort of high voltage anti-tracking bit here. But what I'm interested in here is the two little black components under here that look like diodes. One of them may be a diode, one of them may be a voltage threshold switch, the SIDAC, but I'm not really sure yet. I'm not even sure they're going to have text left on them by the time I've finished soaking them in acetone. But I'm getting further into it. I will pick off some more, and then I'll put it back in the acetone and leave it. A common circuit in these is, well, one that do I have that here? Yes, I do. A common circuit in some of these units used to be this, where you had the two limiting resistors. It charged up this capacitor, but via this diode, it charged capacitor up on one half wave, and then the other half wave, it fired this thyristor, so it suddenly shunted the capacitor. And because the capacitor was in series with the primary, it then induced a high voltage spike, and then there was a simple multiplier in the output. That's a different ionizer. Took apart a long time ago. That one was hard. I used heat to get the resin off that one, because these all tend to be potted in resin partly to keep the content secret and partly as high voltage insulation, because they do operate at high voltage inside. Draw that schematic. Yes, indeed. I can't draw the schematic this one yet, but I will. West Sussex Street Lighting Collector says, what do you think about LED streetlights? Initially, I wasn't too impressed by the cold white ones that created a splash of light on the road just below them, but the modern ones are getting better. They're a nicer white, and they're producing a much better, more controlled spread of light. I'm going to, I've more or less got all I can get off this at the moment, so I shall put it back in the acetone, put the lid back on, and put it back in the shelf, and let it continue to bake. And I'll cover that some other day once it's finished revealing its secrets. Do I save all the schematics through the years? The ones I put on YouTube these days, I actually go to YouTube to look for those schematics. Have you tried that 360-degree neon flex stuff? I have. It's not 360 degrees. If you're talking about the stuff, it's a core, and it lights all the way around it. There's actually a visible strip inside it. So if it's not lined up correctly, you get the sort of you get that sort of stripe along it. Okie dokie. Kobe is about to disappear. There we go. Does the Hoppy show anything for my circuit? No, I don't think it will show anything at all because the current is too low for it. It's really, really low. The amber light, the amber street lights are interesting. Oh, the observatories, okay, that makes sense. But the amber LED street lights wouldn't be putting out a single wavelength like the traditional sodium ones did. Indeed, bye-bye, Kobe. Kobe is gone. Yeah, not sure what that was about. Why do people do this? Yeah. So, what is the alcohol percentage of that stuff? What do you mean? Are we talking the acetone? It's a pure chemical. Is it even an alcohol? I'm not really sure. But it's a solvent. It's commonly sold for fingernails. Does the ionizer make no ozone? Ionizers make a very, very, very tiny amount of ozone, but it's like absolutely minute. It's literally the tiny corona discharge at the end of a needle in a dark room. It's not enough. It's not enough to really be. You can't smell the smell of ozone that you can with an actual ozone generator. Do you make a flyback circuit? You could use a flyback. Some of the earliest ionizers used a flyback circuit. Clive, when is the next video out? What day is today? It's usually the odd days it comes out, but technically speaking, this is one of the videos. Acetone is a ketone. Okay. See, I was waiting for the chemists to come in here. Brad says, sat enjoying a lovely Tonka and licorice imperial stout. That's just odd. Kobe was someone who's spamming it. Ember Fringe has been cancelled, as is the Tattooed at this point in time, which is a bit annoying. Not to worry, it means that summer is going to be somewhat quieter and different because I'm not going to be working. Mm. Fa Q, yes, indeed. Now is quite a good track. Oh yes, oh you got one of the 10-volt ozone lamps, but yours actually smells like ozone. You get different types. It's the I think it's the composition of the glass will determine whether it's the ozone type or just the UVC. I don't know the Big Bang Theory, unfortunately. I don't watch much TV. Do you think UVC would kill the virus? Yes, it does, but it also does bad things to humans as well. There is Mick Ward. Mick Ward there is Mick Ward. That's I'll say it correctly. Insect killers use the no flyback circuit. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. It's flying up the screen now. I'll keep the. I know there's no face ultimately for this, but yeah, it's just because this is the bench type video. Keep in mind there is another channel called BigCliveLive where all the face streams come from. And I've been doing quite a few recently. Been trying to do at least one a week. Uh, Tell baby, what about 5G and LED lighting or 5G in general? 5G is nothing like it's being promoted to be. It's not that particularly harmful. It's odd, very strange. The how people have done that. I don't think it poses a harm because the frequencies involved are just they're not high energy levels as such. Chainsaw cow, you have pretty manly hands for a gay guy. Well, thanks for that. That's partly because I misspent my youth in steelworks and heavy electrical engineering environments, and they're very good for crushing things. Billy No Mates, I think it was all cleared out, partly to scrap yards, partly taken. That was just shared amongst the community. I think 5G is theoretically safer. It's got less ability to penetrate than the lower frequencies. When did I first really get into LEDs, says Wix? I really wanted one when I was young when they first came out. Well, when they were first commercially available. I remember going to the electronics shop with my mum and she bought me my first LED, a green one. I'm not sure what the technology was. It glowed on 1.5 volts, which is pretty odd. The only bad thing about 5G is the Chinese may be involved in making the networks. The Chinese manufacture everything. They manufacture your phone. That's just completely why the fuck do, why are people saying this? I really don't know what that is. Jack Bennett. Okay, I can say your name. And the streetlights, the whole theory about them being streetlights was that one of the plans is to put them in streetlights because if you imagine the Wi-Fi in your house at 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, which are 5G frequencies, incidentally, uh, they it won't actually transmit very far if there's stone walls. So, in the same way outdoors, the 5G frequencies, the higher frequencies don't have the ability to pass through, well, you or buildings. Technically speaking, the old 3G, 2G, 4G phones are actually more harmful than the 5G. But the theory of the lamppost is that instead of having just one big beacon, as most of them are, they were going to have lots of small beacons mounted locally, and they considered using a lamppost, but they don't actually look like lampposts. The first ones look a bit weird. They just look like big, huge aerial clusters. Not my phone. I have a Nokia, says Medieval Folk Dance. That your Nokia, if it's the little flip open one and it's operating on 2G or 3G, yes, your phone because it's transmitting at exactly the same power. Pulsing streetlights at imperceptible levels to send secret messages is my idea, says Raven. They did consider, instead of Wi-Fi, having lights in the house that would actually transmit the data by modulating the light in your rooms, much like the radio signal. But that sounds complex. Negative eye on the beard for COVID filtering, says some guy. You did get little pendant things that went under, and I think they were ozone generators that just created a little aura of protection around you, which they really didn't. Li-Fi, that's the one, random roulette. Um, as I've turned to Wi-Fi, the lighting version. But yeah. Now, someone recently sent me a link to the conductive beanies with the silver lining inside them. Every cloud has a silver lining. Very conductive, by the look of it. And baseball caps, but the frequencies it says they're tested to are completely out with the 5G brand. City Fibre installing 5G repeaters on top of telegraph poles. I can see that happening. I think in the UK, 3 are already best set up to provide 5G services because they already used, with the 3 network and the 4G, they already used tiny little repeaters dotted here and there at low power. I have changed the BigClive.com label on the desk. What time is it here? It is currently, I'm going to have to look at that now. It's 10:24. Well, yeah, 710th century digital boy. Yeah, they have in busy areas like cities, they have the lines underground, the power lines, but in rural areas, and certainly this area here, my power comes from an overhead line. It's a TT system. They won't be on super tall towers anymore. Some of the main beacons will, but probably the ones that are feeding the smaller beacons. I don't like the new sign, says Phenotical. It's different. You'll get used to it. Oh, yeah. Smoke 824. I remember the LEDs being installed and everything. When they came out, that was so novel because you got to imagine if you weren't of that era, when the first blue LEDs became available, they were incredible because the only option up to that point was a blue neon, which is not very bright, or a blue um, tungsten lamp with a filter over it, which was also really dull. And then these blue LEDs came out and they were just piercing single wavelength, 470 nanometer blue. It was amazing. Everybody just shone them in their eyes, as you do. I could have actually made this glow in the dark, but I'm not really sure that would be a terribly good idea because hopefully it will be lit most of the time. I wonder if they do glow in the dark tape. That'd be interesting. This is black and clear. It's also black and shiny clear, but I have the option of another tape that's black on matte clear. But it seems all right. The shiny seems okay. Blue LED does mean high tech when you were a lad, but keep in mind that that's not that long ago, really, Thomas. Because yeah, they've not been around that long, although maybe they have. Maybe I've just maybe I've just lost a track of time then. Do you agree with the CDC at making your own hand sanitizer with high strength alcoholic beverages should be avoided? No, I don't, because as far as I'm concerned, if you can get the stronger ethanol, like the 70% things like Everclear, that's fine for it. That's a high potency alcohol. But their main thing was the sort of 40% ones, like the rum I've got here. They reckon they're not suitable, but they are suitable for other applications, other sanitizing. Hmm. Yes, I remember Paul, I remember Maplin selling a single blue LED for £10 each, yeah, as well. And now they're a penny each if you buy them in bulk from China. Okay, they're not necessarily the best quality. Sadly, it's gone on for 2 decades, Clive, says Thomas. All right, yeah, maybe that is a decent length of time. Everclear was awesome. I've never tried Everclear because they don't really do it here. Bucket of bleach water is less expensive. Just washing your hands is better as well. Yeah, dish £10 each. The same happened in the first before the gallium nitride blue came out. They had the silicon carbide blue, which were really dim and washed out white, really low intensity, and they were £10 each as well because they were novel. Why is cleaning alcohol so expensive? It's not normally so expensive. It's just gone up in price quite a lot. Fire and Copper, did I move to Alamana? Was I born here? My parents are from here, so kind of moved back to care for them and then stayed. What's that? Let's see here. I always go to this hotel down in Devon. They always have dial-up lines integrated into the phones. Oh, maybe that's just says Melon Chickens. Maybe that's just the era that they were put in. It doesn't seem that long ago that the internet was young, but then maybe it's just because I'm old. Time has been flying. It's been good though. Finite reality, you've missed all the construction. The whole thing's been made and tested. It doesn't even look that exciting now because it's a 5G antenna. It's a bit of drain pipe with a 3D printed cap and a jack connector, a banana connector on the end that puts out a high positive voltage when plugged into the main supply. It works. If you have dust sweep, no, this thing removes ultrafine dust, like visible dust. It remove it. Distributed mode loudspeakers? I'm not really sure. What are the distributed mode loudspeakers? You're old if you use Presto. Yeah, well, yeah. The internet was born in the 1960s. The earliest form of an internety type thing I used was the bulletin boards, but that all went a bit odd. Oh, right. Any of Clive's fans know of a good source for ferrite beads in the US trying to replicate its Jewel Thief to no avail? Elegance Engine. Try online. Try ferrite beads or ferrite cores. If you have an old broken compact fluorescent lamp, compact fluorescent lamp, they've got a little toroidal core in them that you can strip out. Forcibly discharge in 18650. Not at my bench, no. Would I call myself a native Scotsman or a native Manxman? I was born in Scotland, so technically speaking, I've lived most of my life there. I suppose that I'm more Scottish than Manx. Oh, the Billy No Mates, that's the speakers that you put on a surface and they make it vibrate. They're kind of, yeah, a bit of an odd arrangement. Presto was a UK supermarket. Well, I remember Presto. I remember Safeway as well. The management of Safeway, I used to service the automatic barriers in them, and the management of Safeway were almost like they were chosen in the UK to just be the bastards. They were just horrible management. It was like they were horrible to the staff and they were horrible to the customers. And all the Safeways were the same. It's almost as if they chose them and trained them to be aggressive and, show people their place. It was horrible. Safeway's gone here now, which is good. That's probably why. Hmm. Yeah, Jeffrey's saying 300 baud modem in his VIC-20 thought it was rocking then. It was fine then. It's as the speed has gone up, they've bloated it more and more stuff. So, Stone Day, people in Toronto are out and about like crazy today. Is it just, are they still in lockdown? UK Post is working, I think, but it may be taking a bit longer to get out. But I think the vape supply companies are all still working, at reduced capacity from small premises. Can you light up LED with an ionizer? Yes, you can. It's a very low current, but it would make it glow. And if you got the LED the wrong way around, if it was a gallium nitride, it might damage it. I've got some more streetlights here to make videos on. I've just not made the videos of them yet, including a dead LED one that someone sent me that I've not made a video about yet. Hmm. I think you could connect with 300 baud, but you couldn't do an awful lot. You wouldn't go onto YouTube with 300 baud. That's very slow. I'm trying to remember the names. Fine Fair was one of the other supermarket names. Was it Fine Fair's bought over the Safeway stores? And I remember Safeway were just getting bigger and bigger all the time. What's an inverter microwave? That's one that instead of using the big chunky heavy transformer, uses a switch mode power supply to generate the high voltage. They're lighter and it means they can actually regulate it in a more controlled manner. What 3D printer do I use? I use a Cetus 2 by Tier Time. That's what I printed these on, and the little plastic support inside for stuff. Have I worked on any big time light shows like Cirque du Soleil? The biggest show I work on these days is the T2, the Ember T2. There's a good amount of lights. Summerfield. I remember Summerfield as well. What happened if you put ionizer near to a hoppy meter? If you put it really close to certain areas of electronic stuff, it could arc onto connections and cause problems. But it just puts a charge on things. They should be protected against that. Presto went to Safeway, then Sainsbury's Walton. All right, okay. Oh, the 300 bits Tandy rubber acoustic coupler for the phone. Yes, indeed. The good old internet days where I spent 50 minutes downloading a naked picture of Vanessa Angel pictures. All right. That's the ones that they just gradually just build up. The picture would, from the top of the screen, would just gradually build up little bit by little bit and then stop halfway. Just as it got to the interesting bit, the picture would just stop. Speed camera teardown only if I could get a speed camera, but that I don't know if they'd be that interesting inside. William Lewis, indeed, it is. It's all the old places in the UK. I remember Fine Fair. Last time I was in Fine Fair was actually I saw someone who went to the same college as me. What was it? Ian Miller, Ian Chappie Miller. He was working in street lighting at the time. He was actually doing the Christmas lights in Airdrie. And I can remember just the last time I saw him was in that Fine Fair, and he was wearing a sort of military olive green overall with a sort of like the classic yellow PVC over trousers that you wore at work at that time. The ones that were sort of yellow, but then the turn ups would be a completely different color, it'd be a cream color, and no high vis stripe. Are we going to see a mailbag special? That might happen because so many people send stuff that I really should at the least feature it in a sort of mailbag special so that it's not ages before I get backward down to it. I don't miss dial-up internet because it was pretty severe. It was, these days, slow. Drone racer at home in a cherry picker. I like cherry pickers. They're good. I miss cherry pickers, not driven one for a very long time. I'm going to have a more dark and stormy. Do all Big Class subscribers also watch Electrical and EV blog? I think there's a very good, there is a mixing of the channels like that. Each one represents a different style of electronics. Dave's is very much different from mine, as is Julian Eilets and Franz. So some people will watch all the electronic channels. Do you have a telescope? Not really, but here it's very, very black. Now, Dave at EEV blog, is he not one of the first electronic channels on YouTube? The actual dedicated channels? He seems to be around forever, but were there other ones before him? Hard to say. I would say that I regard Dave as sort of one of the daddies of the electronic channels on the internet. Tom back, I've been watching Thomas Nagy as well from time to time. Dave seems to divide people because he does quite often grump about things, and some people like that and some people don't. That's the choice of the internet, isn't it? I'm thinking if you're wanting a build project with tubes, that'd be something like that would be I'm trying to think of which channels would be good for that. Fran Lab. Does Fran use tubes? Uh, we know them as valves over here. Who else? Oh, there is one, and I can't remember the name of the channel. Quite a distinctive channel, a super wizard person that's always fixing old valve radios. And I can't remember the name of the channel. Hmm. I do occasionally see Mr. Carson's lab. I don't watch as much stuff as I'd normally. I used to Glass Slinger. That's the one. Um, he's very good. He makes tubes as well as actually making stuff out the tubes and mixes Arduino and tubes and Nixies and voice recognition. It's a very odd channel, but good, very good. Hmm. And there's Ashens, yep, for your tat from Poundland and taste tests. Clive, do you like using Genie cherry pickers? Says Peter. The Genie is one of my favourites because, particularly the old Genies, because the modern ones they're a bit too intelligent, and the uh, other, Halot and JGL, GHG, they are they're just too intelligent. They try and do this slow ramp up and slow down. Um, they're too fancy, if you will. And it means that when you're going up to a post with a one of those cherry pickers, you have to plan in advance to stop because it won't stop immediately like a Genie. The Genie, as soon as you take your hand off the lever, it stops. With the other ones, it sort of does this deceleration curve, and it can actually just get you a wee bit too close than you'd prefer. Hmm. I wouldn't say photonic induction has issues. I just say it's just things got to him for a while. Yeah, this old Tony and Tech one, and there's also technology connections is very good. The video is going to be watchable once it's done. Yes, it will be available to view afterwards, along with the chat at the side. The chat at the side, yeah, that's I'm going to have to work out which way. Yeah, no, it's that side, isn't it? I see things in reverse here. West Sussex Street Lighting Collector. Clive, could you subscribe and shout out my channel? I shall take a look at that channel. I do like street lights. Even though having worked them, I find them quite interesting. Particularly the older ones that are still working. I was having a discussion online about that. Finding ballast trays absolutely full to brim with water with the metal, with the mercury vapor lamp ballast just sitting underwater, rusted solid, drain it all out, dry it off, and power it up, expecting to go bang, and it just works. And it does limit the current as normal. They're very robust. Electronic ones wouldn't do that. Well, I'm saying you put a small halogen light bulb between minus and plus ionizer. Not an awful lot because it's very low current output. I think, yeah, people have mentioned Techmoan. Always interesting. Always, it's a sort of that small group of channels are good. I do occasionally watch John Ward. South Main Auto is quite enjoyable. It's just ambient, mechanicy stuff. There's other channels too, the mechanical channels, which are always quite interesting. It's nice to see. It's like almost like a sort of a change of scenery to actually watch another technology for technical people. So EEV Vlog joined YouTube in 2010, says Ben. All right. So were there other electronic channels that predate Dave? Yeah. Diode Gone Wild has, in the past, when he first started up, he was doing mainly high voltage stuff intermittently before he sort of adopted a popular format. Did you see the most recent? Well, one of the most recent South Main Auto that controlled the instrument cluster that was just glitchy on and off. And they took it out and then couldn't get the fault to happen again. I wonder if that was a bad connection. It possibly was just a bad connection, and the capacitor charging up until the circuitry. Oh no, I'm not really sure. Or it because the vehicle had its battery disconnected or run low so many times, it had powered up in an unstable state and had corrupted files registered in the processor. Will the new positive ion dust collector module light a neon? It would make a neon glow very, very dimly. Shango 066 was before Dave. Not really over familiar with Shango. Do you know, here's a thing I was thinking of recently. There were some great YouTubers that had, at the time, they were really big channels, and then they just kind of just drifted away. They just stopped putting stuff up. They're still about, but they just stopped doing that. And it's like they stopped before YouTube became, reached the threshold and took off. Hmm. So, Stoney, who's waiting for YouTube Gold? Most of the electronic channels, the only one I can think of right now is Electroboom, because Electroboom appeals to that huge audience. I wish this didn't have the text on the side. Having said that, doesn't really matter. This, for those who are not didn't see the video earlier, this is a bit of drain pipe with two 3D printed ends, and it's got a bit of high voltage circuit in it. I shall tighten this up and clamp it. Mike's electric stuff. Is that who you're talking about? Mike has a really old website called Mike's Electric Stuff. He did what I did. The reason my channel is called BigClive.com is because the website was called that, and the website predated YouTube. I could wash that off the acetone, but there's a very good chance it would leave it all matte and sort of wrecked. I'll try a wee bit and see what happens. I shall dip my finger in it. That's a great idea, isn't it? Oh, it's not bad. Hold on. I'm kind of regretting that now. Okay. Oh, it's melted the plastic. Yeah. That's why I was thinking it would melt the plastic. It now looks like it's malfunctioned horribly. It's not lasered, it's been printed onto it, but the acetone has melted the plastic itself as well. If I wipe that now, it would come off, but I'd have to try and polish it. Doesn't really matter. It's just a piece of drain pipe. It's all just usable. Oh, the new songs for the pandemic. No, I think I'm going to avoid saying anything about a pandemic at the moment because people are really taking it on quite seriously. Too seriously. That's why I had to take a video down because I now see lots of other videos going up from companies that do thermal imaging cameras. The 3D printed end caps were done in a Cetus 2 by Tier Time. Mm-hmm. All right, I have answered the 3D printed one. Hold on. I'll just calm someone down since that has been answered. Pow. The sex bots haven't turned up in the comments yet. This isn't the greatest live stream for me just twiddling my fingers on the bench, is it? But at least there is that communication. A magic sponge eraser. I've not tried that. I do have a magic sponge eraser, so I might give that a blast. I'll go and get one, in fact, right now. Clean zone. 2 magic sponge erasers. Now, do I have to make this wet first? I'll just wet with my finger and rub. Maybe I should wet it. I'm going to try wet it and see what happens. Yeah. 19 is worse than the flu, though. Well, I'll say something about that when I get back. I've made this wet. Now the circuitry's wet. No, nothing about that. But no, it's going to take more than that to get that off, I think. I shall use more solvent. Nice and squeaky though. Yeah, it's dripping now. That's it. That sounds like a great idea for something that operates at several thousand volts. Wet it with acetone? Nah. So yeah, I was thinking they estimate the fatality rate in America is going to be 100 to 200,000, which is between a quarter to half of the number of people that die from smoking related things every year in America. But I don't see them locking down in that. And is it 16 million people or something like that are estimated to be on their way out in America with serious health problems caused by smoking? I wish they'd do something about that. Maybe in the future. Isopropyl alcohol. I don't think maybe methylated spirits. I'll go and get methylated spirits. Typical British methylated spirits. I'll dip the finger and regret it. Maybe I'll taste test it. No, that's not getting it off either. It's kind of having an effect, but I think it's really in deeply. Will I taste my finger now? Oh, not nice. I do have isopropyl alcohol. Would drink the isopropyl alcohol would have a different effect to that. One moment, I'll get that isopropyl. We'll try all the solvents. One 500 milliliter bottle, £6.50. It ain't cheap. Where can you get MEC? The methylene chloride type solvents can be got at fiberglass supply companies. Yeah, that is well and truly, and I think it's going to take something quite serious to get that off, although that might go with a while. But having said that, it doesn't matter much. You could, don't know if the pipe's printed the full length. It is actually coming off, isn't it? It is basically fading it down a bit, but I think you'd have to buff it off. Yeah, we'll try all the nail varnish remover is acetone. We've tried that. That's the bit that melted it. That's what's in here. And my fingers get fluff in it now, and it's slightly stained. Nice. I don't have any candy. I want candy right now. Maybe I'll go and get crisps. Paint thinners might. Dynamite and a flame would definitely do it. Hold on, let's try the flame test. Well, it's dried it. Brake parts cleaner. Now there is something I could hold on. I'm just going to go and grab some. What is the name of that again? That chemical. What is the brake cleaner again? Let me think. It's the laundry cleaner. It's not toluene. What is the laundry detergent? It's a while since I've used it. No, it's not napalm. Dark and Stromy kicking in. Gasoline might work. Hold on. Perchloroethylene. Perc. In a nice handy squeezy bottle. I'll just put a wee drop on the finger here, which you're not supposed to do. Is that going to have any effect? Oh, it's just as effective as others. No, it's not that great. Smells great though. Smells like a laundry place. I like this. I like the smell of this stuff. It's not necessarily a good thing. You can buy large containers of it on eBay. It can be used for making lava lamps. Not necessarily the best way to make lava lamps. Carbon tetra, has anyone mentioned carbon tetrachloride? The methylene chloride would melt everything. It melts plastic big time. Everybody's getting into they're just listing, it's like a chemical cesspit right now. It's like a list of restricted items. Teacup would work in the sense that it would polish off the surface. Could silver soda be a problem? Silver soda is quite hard to solder with unless it's got a lot of tin in it as well. If it's just a tiny touch of soda, but if it's high temperature stuff, it's not the best type to work with. Poppers, the amyl nitrate. I'm not sure how good that would be as a solvent. Ethanol. I've not tried ethanol. Nail varnish remover is the acetone. Didn't realize I've just actually lifted the circuit board out, the little thing I had soaking here. I'll just tuck this in. That's something that's soaking for later investigation. It's trying to escape. It's like a little snake in there. It is soaking. James Gockle says vinegar. I'm not really sure if vinegar would be enough of a. I don't think it would necessarily dissolve that because it is. Keep in mind, this is pipework. It's designed to be fairly resilient to cleaning materials. Come, says Chainsaw Cowboy. I could give it a go later on, but perhaps not now. I'm not sure it would work that well. Otherwise, it would be bad news for condoms. Maybe some soap and dihydrogen monoxide would work. Carb cleaner. Well, carb cleaner is perchloroethylene usually, isn't it? The stuff that if you heat it up, it degrades into phosgene, which is useful to know, but I'm not sure I could actually do many things. Use hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer, not that sure that would work either. Electrical tape all around the pipe. I think, to be honest, it'd be nice actually. I could have got black pipe, couldn't I? That would have been nice. I didn't really think of that because I didn't actually anticipate I was going to make 3D printed end caps with the connectors and then the stuffing gland on the other end. Let's have some more dark and stormy. So this is going to be a 2-hour stream, and we're already at 1 hour and 52 minutes. Actually, 1 hour, just coming on 1 hour and 53 minutes. So we've only got about 7 minutes to go. So it's longer than expected in a way. Mind you, the actual project itself didn't take that long. Heat shrink tubing, you could actually put heat shrink tubing around it. Benzene is a good solvent. Not sure if I've got much benzene, if benzene at all. Do I have benzene? Not sure. The problem with wrapping it in black tape is that it always looks a wee bit tacky. My thoughts on TS100 solder irons, Carol Lockhart. I tend to aim for the sort of cheaper, affordable stuff in this channel, like the standard generic irons, but they are quite interesting. I like the technology of the way they use just two connections to sense temperature and heat the iron, if it's the ones I'm thinking of, because it uses a thermocouple in series with the actual heating coil. Water and baking soda might work from the abrasive. What's in the dark and stormy? Either ginger beer or ginger ale and a dash of rum, either white or dark rum, or vodka, to be honest, or anything. Hmm. I could plug it in and throw it into the bath. I'm not sure that'd be a great result. Xylene would be another interesting solvent. I think that might be as aggressive as the acetone because it's used in the paints. The TS100, it's quite an interesting iron. I may end up getting one at some point, but it seems, for people getting into the hobby as a start, it's you don't need a complex iron, although it's quite interesting. You do get other ones. There's Jeffrey Hebert. Before I go, Big Cloud, I just want to say thank you for your time. Cheers. You're welcome. The other iron I've got here, no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. I do have another iron here. I'm trying to see it and I'm not seeing it. It's basically, it's one of the irons that uses the, I think it's the TS100 style bits, but it's simply an iron handle, but with an adjustment pot in it, and that's it. Mm. Yeah, the acetone. I think if I'd been faster with the acetone, it wouldn't have been so bad. It's the fact I left it. Same reason that the front of my dishwasher doesn't have any text on it anymore after a little incident with acetone. Jeffrey at Equine Sanctuary. How's the quarantine going here? It seems to be going okay. I wonder how long this is all going to last. It could go on for quite some time, but that's okay. I'm going to be here providing videos to keep you occupied, although obviously that's not going to work all the time, but you could go through the back catalogue. Ceramic cartridge tipped irons are very good. Are we talking about, well, keep in mind that most, are we talking like the irons like this that have the ceramic heater inside? Little ceramic tip. I've looked at that in a video, how what's inside. It's quite clever. It's got a thermocouple on the tip, and the heating element passes up the inside and then spirals down the outside. It's quite clever. It's a nice design. I'm going to have to get that tip just the right position for when I'm holding it. That's important with a soldering iron, just so that the tip is at the correct angle as the cable holds its natural shape. Have you taken any old Logitech things apart? Have I taken a Logitech device? I'm not really sure. I've got a few Logitech items. Should we all give our NHS a clap before we leave? I do think that they should have called that applause for the NHS, not clap for the NHS. That was not so great. Okay, Henrik, I shall check the mailbox. I could build a homemade bidet, but I get the feeling that's going to result in water dripping off the ceiling. Aaron, did the reballing of the CPU actually work? The 8786D, that's what I use. It's good, it's fine, it's very acceptable. Have you ever hacked your Wi-Fi router? I've updated the firmware in routers. And I've got my little tiny router here, though I don't think it's supported by the open source stuff. TP-Link. I was going to turn it over there, and I thought I better not because it's got the password written in the back. Not that that's really significant. There we go. We're now at 1:58, so the stream has 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. Where's my dark and stormy? Where's my vaping device? Not a DD RWRT guy then. Well, unfortunately, I have been tempted to put that into routers, but I've never done it because the routers that I use here are the ones supplied by the communication provider, and they're all locked. They're not really so easy to deal with as traditional ones you can buy off the shelf. But we're now down into the last minute of the live stream. I've not replaced one of Ralph's prized single malts for piss ox. I think you'd notice that. I could add ethanol to it. But there we go. Yeah, it's counting down. It's down into the last 30 seconds of live stream now. So all I can say is this: have a good evening. stay safe. Just keep isolated if you can and avoid those contaminated people. Someone mentioned electrocuting the cheese. I've still got cheese from Christmas that I was supposed to electrocute and didn't, and it's now absolutely stinking. It doesn't need electrocuted. It's vile. But anyway, that is the live stream coming to an end. Goodbye, and I shall catch you online. I'll be doing other live streams as I often do on BigCliveLive. I'll put a link to that down the description of this one so you can find the live channel. And yes, I shall catch up with you on the next video. So good night.